Hey guys, Chris from Provo Beast Audio Installation, and in today's video we're doing an amp and sub install in this 2025 Toyota Camry. Now in this install we're going to show you how to integrate this amp and sub to the existing factory audio sound system. Let's get started. Alright, a couple of things to note before we jump into things for this install. There are a couple of different audio trim options available from Toyota in these Camry generation. First is the base audio trim. There's no factory subwoofer, there's no factory amplifier. The OEM radio powers the speakers directly. The alternative trim would be JBL, and you'd know that if you see JBL logos on the door speakers, on the dash, on the radio, or you'd also see the presence of a subwoofer in the rear deck. That indicates you have the factory audio sound system. Now, our specific Camry does not have JBL. We don't have the factory sub. We don't have JBL logos. It's more of a base audio trim, so it's pretty easy to integrate into. Once we get to the bench, we can make those notes. We can also link the right parts for the JBL owners watching this video in the description of this video to make it as easy for you to install as possible. So without further ado, let's head to the bench and show you the parts that we're going to need for this install. Alright, so here at the bench now, the parts that we're using in today's install. First and foremost is the amp and subwoofers that the customer has provided that they want installed on their Camry. But we're doing these two Kicker 12-inch Comp R subwoofers preloaded in a Kicker box. It's rated for about 1,000 watts RMS, and they're wired to 2 ohms from Kicker. So to power those appropriately, the amplifier the customer wants us to install is this Kicker 1200 by 1. To wire this up and integrate this into our Camry, we need some integration parts. In order for us to pull audio from the factory radio, because we don't have JBL, there's a couple of different harness options that we're going to use. Now, we offer these on our website. These are T-harnesses by Audx, and allows us to make a plug-and-play T-harness pulling signal from the OEM radio without cutting any sort of wire. These are fantastic, and we can link these on the website. We have a remote turn-on harness as well as our audio harness that will make this a plug-and-play install. In order to process the signal from that factory radio to provide signal to our new amplifier, we're using a Kicker key lock. This is provided by the customer. The Kicker key, or key lock, is basically a 2-channel line-out converter that has a built-in auto DSP, which essentially will take that factory signal, will clean it up, and output a fantastic flat level signal, all EQ'd for us to provide our amplifier the best signal possible. It's all done through playing test tones and an auto DSP setup. We'll show you how we're going to do that here in a bit. Now lastly here, our amplifier needs power. And the wiring kit we're going with is a copper kit. Now you can use the Kicker 4-gauge. This is a Stinger one that I also offer on my website. It's a 4-gauge amplifier wiring kit, and it handles up to about 1200 watts RMS. So it's a great match for this amplifier. It's OFC and basically includes everything else that we'll need for this install. Now, with that being said, the first thing that we've been working on is some sort of amp rack. We've already unboxed all our equipment here, and we built an amp rack. Kind of an odd shape here, but this was a 12 by 18 sheet of 1/8 inch ABS plastic that we've cut, shaped, and molded to mount our equipment to fit this under the passenger side front seat. It's going to allow us to mount that there. We could put the amp in the trunk. That's an option. You could put the amp under the driver's side seat. That's an option. Some people put it on the back of the seat. So first thing we're going to do, we're going to show you how this test fits in the car. And then we're going to show you the plans for us to run our power wire, ground wire, and tap into the factory radio for our signal. Now our seat here is held in with T50 Torx screws. We've already removed those, 1, 2, 3, and 4. We lifted the seat up. It's lying back here. And this is going to give us great access. Now typically, oftentimes underneath the passenger front seat is going to be the JBL amplifier if you had JBL. So if you have that trim, the space won't be available. You might have to put your equipment on the driver's side. Now, based on the way that that was shaped, it actually fits in there super well. And fortunately, there is a provision up here where the OEM JBL amplifier typically bolts in. We're going to use that space. It's a threaded insert. It's ready to go, and we'll put our bolt in that same location, securing this in place so it doesn't go around. I mean, already it's nice and secure, even just sitting there. So what we're going to do is wire our amplifier. We typically do most of that up on the bench, but we need power and ground. Ground, we'll find a factory ground, usually on this crossbar to support the seat. Power has to go to the battery. If you have the hybrid, your 12-volt battery is going to be in the trunk. And then we need to pull signal from our OEM radio. And lastly, pull a set of speaker wires that'll go to the trunk to power our new subwoofer. So let's head back to the bench to start our wiring preparation. Okay, so I've spent a few minutes just prepping up our amp rack here, and we started off by connecting our power and our ground to the power and ground terminals of the amplifier. We always add wire ferrules and heat shrink to those just so they're good solid connections. Our blue wire is going to go all the way to our battery. Our Camry happens to be the hybrid, so our battery's in the trunk. Now, there's not a dedicated ground kind of in the vicinity where we're installing this, so we're going to make our own ground here. We'll tap a ground, and we'll show you how to do that. Also on this side of the amplifier, we have our speaker outputs. These terminals basically are sending the amplified output to the subwoofer. Now we have a 12 gauge OFC wire that we're going to run all the way back there. It's going to carry that 1200 watts power to our subwoofer box. It covers most of the terminals here except for our remote turn on. So let's jump over to our line out converter. So this key lock basically is our line out converter, and it has a few sets of inputs and outputs. Yellow is constant 12 volts and black is ground, and that's just going to be power and ground that we'll find within the vehicle. What we did is we added a little inline fuse and we snagged 12 volts right from the terminal of the amp. Black is ground, same thing, we went to the ground here on the amplifier. We just snaked it in there as well. It's nice and fused, and so this piece of equipment is protected with that power. Now the blue coming out, the blue is our remote turn on wire, and that goes to the remote input of the amplifier. The other 5 wires we haven't talked about are whites, and grays, and our red wire. Our whites and grays are speaker level inputs. Those come out here. Now we haven't done anything with those yet because we need to extend these wires to go to the factory radio. We're going to snag our left channel, which is our whites speaker pair, and our grays, which is our right speaker pair, from the factory radio using a T-harness. And then according to this red wire is our accessory input, and our radio still has that available with the harness that we'll use. So that'll turn on both the key lock as well as our amplifier. Now this does have a DC offset setting on as well, but we don't necessarily need to use that because our radio still has an analog turn on, which we'll use. But we need to solder a quick connection on here, which we'll do here in a moment, and then extend these wires up to the radio. So that takes care of this side of the amplifier. We have our signal side. Our amplifier has an RCA input, and we just chose a 18-inch 2-channel RCA cable, and that goes to the output of our key lock. This amp also has a bass knob, which we added in here as well. That goes down, and that'll head up to kind of the driver's side area by the steering column, where we will mount our included bass knob. Last thing we need to do, I just have some speaker quick disconnects. I'm going to solder these on to this end so we can have a quick disconnect if needed. I also, to carry the signal from the radio down to this amplifier, I have some called 5-conductor cable. You've seen 9-conductor cable. This is 5-conductor cable. 5-conductor only has 5 wires. I don't need all 9. So I'm going to carry our front signal input as well as our accessory turn on from our factory radio all the way down to that, and this will connect into this wiring. So I'm going to solder on our ends here, finish lubing up our harness, and at that point in time, we'll be ready to go set this into the car. All right, so we finished up that end here, made our connection. This is our 5-conductor cable. This is our signal cable from the factory radio, which is going to feed our key lock, front left, front right, and an accessory turn on. We have a quick disconnect here in case we have to disconnect this harness. On the other end, which will go up to the radio, I actually went ahead and pinned on with a pinning tool, just a end that will connect into our T-harness, as well as we need to connect our remote turn-on wire here. So let's talk about that T-harness now. Now this is the kit that I offer on my website. It's basically a T-harness. These ends are still pass-throughs because we're not amplifying our doors or dash speakers at all. In this application you could, but we are just passing those through like normal. This end plugs into the factory radio, and that original plug will plug into our harness, which gives us the length of wire that we can cut, change, modify, do whatever we need to in order for us to effectively make this happen. This also has a sub output, which is nice. This is connected into those front speakers, and the harness that I pinned on will connect right into that. So that essentially will pull signal from the factory radio and send it to our key lock for us without modifying or doing anything to our other speakers. Now, a remote turn on wire, there isn't one in this 8-pin harness. That's where this guy comes in. It is a remote turn on harness. Essentially, you'll find the plug that this plugs into. Now it comes with a bullet style connector. We don't need that in today's application, so we'll cut that off. We'll strip that back here. And we're going to add in the other end of our bullet connector. We'll crimp it on. And now, what that now effectively gives us is our quick disconnect with our remote turn on wire as well. So, this end will go up to the radio, we'll feed our key lock. Our key lock will output the RC audio signal for our amplifier, and our amplifier will amplify it and send that to the subwoofer. So that's it. We are really done here at the bench. Everything is now assembled and ready to go. At this point of time, we're going to head to the car to get everything installed. Now, if you like this line-out converter or T-harness, I actually offer this already on my website, fully assembled, ready to go in various different applications. So if you want to pick one up, pre-assembled by yours truly, we'll go ahead and link that at your convenience. Alright, so we got our amplifier in place here. Now you saw us take off this panel. That just gives us some flexibility to pull wire under the carpet. Now there's a natural channel here on the back side of the front seat brace, which is nice and easy to pull wire through. But that sits in place. That's an M6 bolt here, and we added a lock washer and stuff, but that more or less snags the factory mounting location up underneath the carpet. So our power wire and our sub output wire, because we have the hybrid, the battery's in the trunk for us. So this needs to go into the trunk. Obviously the sub and box is in the trunk too, so those will run backwards. Going forwards is our bass knob. We're gonna run that up and over the steering column, somewhere on the driver's side by the steering column to mount the bass knob. And then remember our signal harness that we assembled here. We'll probably run that up along here. We're gonna go up, and then we'll have to pop the radio out temporarily. The screen and the radio are still one piece, and so we need to get back behind the screen. It's actually pretty easy to do so, and we'll show you how to do that here in just a moment. So we're gonna finish running our cables to the trunk, and then we'll run the other cables forward, and then we can put this all back together. Okay, so we pulled all that apart. At this point, we lifted up the carpet, we pulled our wires up there, sub output and our power wire, again, battery in the back. We just tucked it up underneath panels, going to the rear. Same technique, pop panels off, running it through, up underneath the back seat. Now we pulled our sub wire out just right here, the right amount of length, anywhere in the trunk. And then our power wire, if we pull this on down, you can see it comes up and it drops down. This is where our 12-volt battery is in the hybrid edition. So when we open this up, there is the stud that we'll attach our power wire to. We'll put our inline fuse just right down in this pocket, and that'll power our amplifier. And this end, we'll strip those ends and connect to the subwoofer box. All right, so next here we got to install our ground. Now here's our cable from the amplifier. In this cross beam, we're gonna clean it up with a wire brush here, and then we're gonna use a self-tapping bolt with a lock washer, regular washer, and that's going to bite really, really well. And we're going to make sure that's nice and torqued and tight into this crossbeam. Okay, so that's all in, all done, and good to go. We can now reassemble our carpet. All right, next here, we are back here in the car. We need to plug in our T-harness back behind the radio. To get this off, we need to take off this panel, and then this trim comes off. We pop out our heating and air controls, and then it should expose the 4 10mm bolts that hold in the screen. There's also clips that hold in the screen. So it's just piece by piece, we'll pull it apart. That's gonna expose all our connections that we'll need to connect our T-harness into. This is just real easy to pull out. Just this panel comes out all in one piece. Pop this panel out here. Just like that. Just again, all clips. Here, this all comes out in one piece. We'll just lay that down. We're gonna have 4 10mm bolts holding in the radio. Next here, we just give this a tug. And there's our radio. Super simple. On the back of our radio, there is going to be right here, underneath our antenna connections, that is our black harness that will need to come out. And then our antenna harness is this white one right here, and that'll be the T-harness for a remote turn on. So now there's gonna be a little tab, you press in. Okay, there's that harness here. Just like so. So we got our T-harnesses now installed. Next step is we got to feed our cables up into the dash. Okay, and now we'll make our connections at the radio. And that's it. With those connections now made, we can reseat the radio. All right, so we got our power wire on there. We just need to modify that top a little bit so it will shut. We got our fuse and fuse holder right there in line. Left a little length of wire so it's serviceable, but at this point in time, we are done here. We can close this up and install our subs. All right, so we're all done with our install. We got our key lock all tuned up. We just need to wipe everything down and put the seat bolted back in. But we set up the DSP. We got a nice full clean signal out of that for our amplifier. If you're doing a regular line out converter without a DSP, it should be pretty easy to set up those dials. So set up our gains. We're using an SMD DD1. We found out the radio clips about 48. So 47 is our loudest, cleanest audio output. With the bass right in the middle. So that's where we set our gains. We got our subwoofers all in. Good to go. The trunk's all reassembled here. We did a really cool little bass knob modification. We had a blank there, so we flush mounted the kicker bass knob there. Made that look great. So that's about it for this video. If you have any questions on what we did here, go ahead and post a comment below. Like I said before, all our favorite parts for this Camry install, including the wiring, T-harnesses, everything that we offer, we'll link them in the description at your convenience. Thanks again for watching. Be sure to hit the like button if you like what you saw, and don't forget to subscribe to post great content on the channel all the time. We'll see you in the next video.